I've asked Councilman Wilden to lead us in our reflection and Councilman Wadman to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful to be gathered here this evening and review these items on the agenda for the betterment of our city. And we're so grateful for all those who live, work, and serve in our community and recreate here. And we ask Thee to bless us this evening, that we'll be able to make good decisions and be able to discern those things that will improve this community for decades to come. And these things we say in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please stand during the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, tonight we have a recognition for a Community Life Saving Award.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for a few minutes of your time. We have a very special recognition this evening for one of our community members that made a significant difference in someone's life. Last Thanksgiving, Scott and Maggie Soward had their family home for Thanksgiving, and Maggie had a cardiac issue that wound up in her heart stopping, and she stopped breathing. Essentially, she was dead. Her husband called out to her family, and they came to help. Her daughter had just recently taken a refresher in CPR training. Her daughter, Eliza, performed CPR for 5 minutes on her mom until police officers and firefighters could get there. Maggie was breathing with a pulse when she got to the hospital, and the cardiologist directly attributed her survival to the early intervention and quality CPR done by Eliza. So our firefighters would like to recognize Eliza tonight, and if you would join us in that with a plaque. And I would ask Eliza to come up. Eliza. Mr. Mayor, if you'd come down. The crew that was there that night, please come up. Just one quick note, in addition to recognizing Eliza tonight, is we also want to encourage members of our community to go out and get this training. Nationally, 350,000 people a year suffer cardiac arrest, 90% of those at home. If those people can get early CPR, it increases greatly their chance of survival, and gives them time before the paramedics get there. And so we would like to continue to encourage our community to do that. So thank you, Eliza. If everybody can give her a round of applause.
My phone too?
Yes, you know what, that's even curious. Sit down now. Sorry.
You're good.
I'll do it with yours because I was just gonna text it to you.
Perfect.
Okay, ready? All right, perfect. I just took a ton because that's what my teenager daughter does.
What was that? Yes, please do.
We just want to also recognize all the emergency workers that came and saved my wife's life. So thank you to them also.
Thank you. We will brag, we do have one of the best fire departments, if not the best. So thank you to the fire department and to the chiefs for the training and the effort you guys put in. Any other comments to this? Thank you. Congratulations.
How's mom doing? Doing good? Okay, thanks.
It's great. Thank you very much. Okay. If you guys want to leave or you can stay, it's really riveting tonight of a meeting. Have fun. Thanks.
mean, there's no budget stuff on
Yeah.
that.
Thank you. Okay, public input. Time has been set aside for the public to express ideas, concerns, or subject matter not listed on the agenda tonight. We do not have any public hearings. Total time is limited to 15 minutes. Please avoid repetitive comments. Please be respectful in your comments. Please limit comments to 3 minutes each. Is anybody here for public input at this moment? If you'd come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Randall Diamond. I reside at 382 North Pinnacle Court up by Mount Saratoga. Mayor and City Council members, I'm here to urge you to consider a citywide mosquito abatement program to improve the quality of life for all Saratoga Springs residents. Our city boasts more waterfront property than any other city in Utah. With the shores of Utah Lake, the Jordan River, and numerous retention ponds providing ideal breeding grounds for mosquitoes. One untreated pond can produce over 1 million mosquitoes that can travel up to 5 miles. With 15 years of experience on a county mosquito abatement board, I've seen firsthand how effective, affordable intervention can make a nuisance-ridden area vibrant again. In my previous community engagement, abatement cost just $474 per parcel. Here I know neighbors who feel forced indoors or are even considering moving because of unbearable mosquito conditions every summer. Beyond nuisance, mosquitoes present a real health threat. This year, West Nile virus was detected here in Utah County. The Zika virus is already present in Utah and is spreading northward. These risks demand action. Integrated pest management is a proven solution. Starts with public education on eliminating standing water and reporting issues, then continues with larval control using safe pond treatments and mosquito fish. Adult fogging serves as a last resort. This balanced, multi-pronged approach is cost-effective and time-tested across the country. I respectfully ask you to direct staff to research successful mosquito control strategies and to consider implementing an integrated pest management plan for Saratoga Springs. Doing so will protect our health, enhance our daily lives, and provide a wise investment for our community. Thank you for your attention and leadership.
Thank you. Is anybody else here for public input? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public input at this time. Reports, anything from the council?
Just give another shout out that you already gave to our fire department because, wow. I'm not going to talk about it because I already cried. I'm so emotional about it, but seriously, like, amazing for someone's daughter to react that quickly, and then our fire department, really, they're the best. They really are. So big shout out to the family, and I love that they brought them here into our fire department because there could have been a life lost, and it wasn't because of what we have here. I'm sorry. I'm so emotional about it, but just to imagine even losing a family member here in our city is just, I can't. And to have her react like that and then have a fire department, all of them and what they did, wow. And so Kenny, I hope you tell everybody, should I call him Kenny here, sorry. And I may already said it, but just, wow. Like, thank you for everything you guys do and for being literally the best fire department around. Like, we appreciate you, we love you guys, and so thank you. And in a situation like this, of course, amazing, so. That's it. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Any other comments? Administration?
Mayor and council, just wanted to point out the email that I sent you with an update on City Hall project budget update. Briefly, we are on budget. We're still under budget, our overall budget that we were planning, but there were some cost increases for certain items that make you aware of. That we don't anticipate needing a budget amendment or a change to the budget, but just wanted you aware that some of the economics are affecting projects now, and that's why we're trying to get locked-in prices with ordering things ahead of time as much as we can. So still on schedule for completion the end of this year in November, and so look forward to celebrating that. And but if you have questions, happy to answer them now or reach out individually. Thanks.
Yeah, Councilman Carn?
I just want to comment on that briefly and commend staff. As we've gone through the City Hall project, we've been in the position to, with our contractor and partners, foresee price increases on things like steel and place our orders early to save money. And we've done that. Our staff's done that over and over. And just done a great job with the budget that was set for this project. And I think we will come in under budget on it. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, Councilman Carn, thank you. I failed to mention that Big D and MSR and their subcontractors have been amazing for us and have
Yeah.
done a really good job of anticipating as much as you can in a project this way. So really appreciate their efforts and their continued efforts. We're still in the sprint to the end, for sure. We're not out of the woods, but they're doing phenomenal work for us. And so I would be mistaken not to say that they are doing a great job for
So
us.
we're going to have a meeting there in December. It may be outside,
No, it won't be outside.
spotlights, but we're going to have a meeting there.
Yeah, no, they are, we are still on schedule to have the December 2nd council meeting, so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, consent. I will entertain a motion on the consent.
Move to approve consent items on the calendar.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman Carn,
Second.
second Councilwoman Barton. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. First item tonight, business item 1, Wildflower Village Plan 5.
This particular request is related to the architecture. This was approved in May with conditions that the architecture come back to you for further review and consideration and incorporation of architectural standards into the village plan. And tonight, that language is before you. There is language in here proposed for the building corners and the street sides. This is the particular motion that was made, asking for this to come back to you. The language highlighted here on the screen in yellow is what is being added to the document. Staff does have 2 items on this particular list. We recommend that the council discuss further. This list does say that 3 of these elements on the list will be incorporated into the elevations. The concern is that 3 of those will not achieve what you're seeing in the rendering. And then the second to last bullet point says lighting elements shall be included to increase and highlight the corner facade. And I do recall at the previous meeting in May that I wasn't sure if that was supported or not, or there might be mixed feelings on that. And then it doesn't necessarily distinguish what lighting elements are. So I wasn't sure how you wanted to go on that, and that's in here for further discussion. These are the conceptual renderings. After the discussion with the enhancements that are listed in the document. However, as I mentioned, it does list all of those, not just 3 of those. Sorry, it does show all of those in the rendering, not just 3 of those. And then you can see here, if you look at the small label, the May 2025 versus July 2025, they are depicting what they have changed. They have added more windows. They have enhanced the awning and wrapped the corner, and they have popped that forward more, the corner element. And then in the document that you received in your packet, the street side elevations are shown in the renderings. However, there was not language, and staff recommended that the applicant clear that up for you tonight. What you're seeing in red right here is being proposed for the elevations indicated with a red mark. Those are indicated as street side elevations, and it states street side elevations shall contain clerestory windows, increased ground level glazing, glass panel entry doors, and color variation as depicted in the rendering. And Owen moved the mouse. Sorry. And this right here is a depiction of the enhanced street side elevations that include the elements listed in the language I just read. And then this is the approved language and also previously approved. So this isn't what you're adding, but just included the previous approved language in case there were any clarifications needed. And then there is a potential motion on the screen. In your packet, it's just a memo, but I did want to include a motion for you to consider. It does suggest that you approve this as proposed with 3 additional conditions. So the one that I read just a minute ago related to the street side elevations, and then corners shall meet all requirements listed, not just 3. That's what staff is proposing. And then lighting elements are optional on the corners and shall meet Title 19. And the applicant is here for any questions.
Okay, do you have anything you want to add for Councilman Wilton has?
I haven't even pushed the button yet.
Oh, I thought you pushed it. He was anxious.
Awesome. No, I don't know that I have anything to add. Well, other than on the 3 elements, the reason that we said a minimum of 3 and we are showing that more is being done is because we intend to do more. But in 10 years down the road, when this village plan is still in play, we wanted to allow for a little bit of flexibility. And so the list that we've given is more of a menu. So we're open to discussions and considerations. We're going to do everything that we're showing, but the language was meant to be a little bit flexible. And then on the lighting element, we like the lighting element. I think the confusion was that in the previous renderings, the lighting was higher on the building and we weren't complying with what your code had. We've moved those down now and the awning or the canopy is lit. And so you can't see that in a daylight rendering, but we wanted to make sure that you knew that that would be there. And it's an option of that menu to choose to enhance that corner. So that's the difference between, and I think Sarah showed the slides where you can see the comparison of what you saw in May and what you're seeing now.
Okay. Councilman McComber?
So I was online, I could hear everything, but I wasn't heard. So I was trying to get your attention, Mayor, so I apologize. So if I can have a point of order, I just wanted to if I can go back to the council reports and the administration for 1 second.
Can it wait till after this, or is it?
Yeah, we can wait.
We'll
On
come back
this,
for you.
but on this, I would like to say thank you. I have probably been the most outspoken on the council with this, as I'm trying to represent the views of the people in the area and the residents, and they're reaching out to me and their concerns. You listened, and you got a little better. And you listened again, got a little better. And you listened again. And I am very pleased with what you have here. I also think that the menu option is quite a smart approach. We've done that with our parks amenities and our residential, as you're well aware. You can get points for certain amenities. You get more points if you put a pool in, that kind of thing in like a neighborhood. I think this works well here because it does give you the flexibility, because the style might be to not have X or Y, but you still have to do something to enhance the look and feel of the building. And so sometimes I know it can be a little painful and I can get a little bit tough, but I'm also consider myself to be pretty fair. And I really do feel like this is going to enhance and improve Saratoga Springs. And you're gonna look a heck of a lot better than what's going on down the road in Lehigh. And you're gonna rent way faster. Because if I was a business, and even if I had to pay $2 more a square foot, I would choose this location, because that is just not appealing at all, as we've talked about many times. So thank you for listening. Thank you for coming on board, and hopefully your team will get the recording, or staff can let them know. I'm just really impressed with how Chriselle has come in and really helped change the tone of the entire dialogue. And so I thank you personally for your professionalism. We've worked with you for many, many years, and I appreciate all that you've done. And I'm very happy with what is being presented today, so thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Councilman Carn?
Yeah, either Sarah or Chriselle, could one of you explain the difference between the street side and the building frontage, and what the difference in the design will be?
So if you can go back to that slide, we included that map. Anything that's marked in blue is considered the front elevation of the building. And then anything that's in red is the street side. So it's those that are going to be viewable from a public corridor. And it's intended that the cutout or the line drawing is what that street side will look like. We've added a couple of clear story windows. We remixed the colors. We also went from having a man door on the side to more of a storefront look.
Okay.
So that you could,
So just so I know, so as an example, the bottom two buildings, or those would be the south two buildings. You've got street side on the ends, frontage on the bottom. The space between where they're green,
That's
those just
my-
more flat,
yes. They'll still have to comply with your Title 19 requirements.
but not the extra
But
architectural.
not the extra architecture.
All right,
Intended to show what the extra looks for on the street.
okay.
Okay.
And those aren't intended, that I can see how they'd be misinterpreted as a green light. That's the landscaping color.
No, yeah, I just use it for,
Yeah.
to point it out, it's fine.
Councilman Wilden?
I do appreciate you coming back. I will say, I'm a little uncomfortable just saying 3 of them. You're planning on doing all of them, and that's great. I would rather say, let's have it built in. You can do all of them with an option to come back and request a reduction like we've done in other places versus just leaving it open. Because some of them are, I think a lot of it's great, but like business signage and logos shall be well placed and sized. Well, we have code around business signs already, and it's really vague there. And I know it's hard to get perfect because we're talking about design elements and there's different opinions all over the place. But some of them, like entry locations, shall be oriented to invite visitors. There's going to be different opinions. So my request or my opinion would say, let's do them all, but give you an option, just like we did with other zoning, if you want a larger tenant, to come back and request like a reduction if it makes sense. So.
And I think that our intent is that if in 10 or 15 years we're not around, there's some flexibility in the code. And also, it comes into play as to the timing. Every time we have to come before you, we're taking up your time and we're taking up our time. And so if we can come to an agreement on, if it's not 3, maybe it's 4, or what number feels comfortable, we still have to comply with your code, which is the current code, not the older code. And so that's why we feel like in compromise, this is a fair ask, but we're open to discussions.
Staff, I want to, if you don't mind if I add to why it's a concern to staff, if you pick the 3 most basic ones, you're talking about signage, lighting, and entries that make sense. So the staff's concern is if you only pick 3, you could leave off some of the ones that actually have an impact, and that 3 of them are pretty big.
Can I also ask, like, we had a work session where we came and put sticky notes up talking about this type of stuff. Does the results of that, what we came up, are they addressed in here?
That's a good question. So we did send that to Chriselle and her team for them to look at. And then we did also look at the elements that you liked, and there was a preference for a lot of the elements that you're seeing here, like the enhanced corners and the upper windows, and then the material changes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilman McComber?
Are you open to having maybe, 5 of the elements, and then we say these three need to, and then you can have like the remaining 7, you can have them as 1 or 2 more options? Because for me, the corner projections from the main structure facade, that is much more important than, like you said, entry locations shall be oriented to invite visitors. That's what you should do. That's not really a design. That's what you should do because you want a lot of good business and you want your clients who buy the space. So that's not really a design feature, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you where you should put your entry.
Right.
You should know that.
Right.
I'm more about like the upper windows, the design on the corners. And so something where we can have, working with staff, like they've heard from us plenty, like what we know, what we really want. I mean, we've done a lot of work on this. but maybe we say these 3 have to be done, and then out of the remaining 7, 2 or something along those lines. Is that a decent compromise to
Yeah.
Councilman Weldon's concern?
Yeah, we can prioritize, like you're saying, a few of them, or I'm happy to say you must do 5.
Yeah. I just think that some of them are a little bit vague.
I agree.
Yeah. And so I think that if we can identify, if we want to say you have to do 5, then let's just find the 5 that we really want, and we can say, or let's say you have to do these 4 for sure, and of the remaining 3 or 4 that actually have value, you have to choose one of those.
Well, even if you took off, like you said, that signage is already, we already have standards for that and percentages for that, so it doesn't really necessarily need to be on here. We already have lighting standards, that doesn't necessarily need to be on here. So there's
Location, orange.
already basic ones on here that aren't necessary, but if you were to reduce the windows or reduce the articulation, that's a pretty big deal.
So maybe work with staff and like identify the 5 and get rid of all the ambiguity ones or the ones that are already covered, and we might even already be there.
I can do that.
Okay.
Okay. There's no other comments. I'll entertain a motion. Councilman Wilden?
I don't know what the motion would be then, like,
How do we approve this with staff coming to an agreement? How do we word that?
because this is essentially memorializing code. Well, I can tell you to Sarah's point, like, the signage, like, you're just gonna have to do that one way or another regardless of what's in here, right?
Lighting.
And the lighting, so that, how many options is there? There's
We take the
8.
locations off too.
And location, so that brings it down to 5.
So
Which meets the number that you were talking about, so we're basically saying you gotta comply with everything you have in there.
So let's say 5 elements, and then we'll remove the 3. So if there's a motion like that, okay.
So just to clarify, the ones that I would see remaining are projections on the main structure, full wrap awnings,
Business, no,
glazing elements to
Yep.
be increased, glazing to wrap both corners. I think, is that 5?
and then introduction of panel.
An
design.
introduction of panels, yeah.
And then we could remove the other 3, and
And
part
then
of
the
the
other
motion
3,
is
yeah.
you have to comply with existing code for lighting, signage, and,
Make a condition for that.
yeah.
Well, the last one we have codes around, don't we?
Yeah.
Section
It's
2.
already there, it's already in.
It's already in there that we comply with your code, so if
Yeah.
you
Okay, we
just
have-
strike those 3 that are not being used.
Okay.
I'll make it, then if you could leave it here for just a second and then take it to the motion as well. So are you okay to entertain a
ready.
motion, Mayor? I move to approve Business Item 1, Wildflower Village Plan 5, Architectural Standards Ordinance 25-53 dated today, removing from the list of building corner treatments, and entry locations shall be oriented to invite visitors and with a clear path, as that is determined by the business. Business signage and logos shall be well-placed, removing and just following Title 19. And removing lighting elements shall be included to increase and highlight the corner facade, again, to follow our standard code, 19, Title 19. So then that would relieve 5 required elements. And then with any, and other all staff findings and conditions, including the fact that we would continue to follow Title 19 in all areas.
And these ones on the screen are not in the packet, if you could specifically mention those.
So the street side elevations within the village plan shall obtain clear story windows, increased ground level glazing, glass panel entry doors, and color variations as depicted in the renderings. Corners shall meet all requirements listed, not just 3. We've now said the 5, so we've got that clear. And then lighting elements are optional on corners and shall meet Title 19.
Okay. Second. First from Councilman McComber, second from Councilman Wilden. Any further discussion? Carn,
Aye.
Barton,
Aye.
Wadman,
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
Comber.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just in time, I can make it to my South Jordan meeting.
Like, drive safe. At least you're driving the right way.
Okay, our next is business item 2, change orders 1 and 2 for Pond 3 and change order 1 for Ponds 1.
Oh, Dean, you got this?
Yeah, I can do this.
Okay, you got the first one.
Okay. Just introduce myself. I'm Dean Free, the new Assistant Public Works Director for Utilities. Basically George's replacement, if you know George. So this business item, again, encompasses 3 change orders, 2 for pond number 3 and 1 for pond 1. The project involved the concrete lining of these 3 ponds, or 2 ponds, I'm sorry, that were approximately 15 years old and had been lined with plastic. And that plastic was at its end of its useful life, and we needed to line the ponds in concrete to support future maintenance and care. So first for pond 3, 2 of the change orders were the result of unforeseen conditions at the site. When pond 3 liner was removed, it was identified that it had been leaking slightly into the subsoils, a lot of clay there, and that clay was very saturated and too weak to support the project, so that clay had to be over excavated and replaced with more structurally stronger materials, gravel, compacted material like that. And then later, when the pond was completed, basically the bottom of the pond, the concrete that existed remained in place, and it was the side slopes that were where the membrane existed, and that was removed and the concrete was installed there. But as the pond was filled, a leak was discovered around one of the center drain pipes, and that a further review of that showed that the soils beneath the concrete in that area had subsided and the concrete gave way, and that water was leaking into the sub-drain of the pond. So that area, the pond had to be drained, and that area had to be excavated, concrete removed, additional reinforcement placed, and the concrete repoured to support that area of the liner. So that's the second change order for pond 3. The third change order on here for pond 1, and I should back up and say that pond 3 has since been filled and has been being used and is working very well. Pond 1, that work was delayed due to the time of the year. They couldn't get to it in time before the weather got too warm to support concrete work. So the plan is to get back to that pond as the weather cools towards early fall and finish it before the winter. The change order for pond 1, it was also identified that after the liner was removed, there was a significant amount of existing sand material that was very weak beneath that liner, and that material, it was determined, had to be removed also to, again, be replaced with structurally sound, stronger material, compacted gravel, to support the concrete that would be placed for pond 1. And as part of the project, it was noted that as the liner was removed, there was undermining of the ramp that allows access to the bottom of the pond for cleaning and maintenance. So the decision was made to redesign, and then ultimately we'll install a new ramp going into that pond, which will make it easier for the vac truck and equipment to get to the bottom of the pond, because currently it's too steep to support heavy equipment getting down there. So with the redesign and the additional work that'll be required for pond 1, it resulted in the third change order that's listed here in the staff report, or I'm sorry, Mayor Council. Yeah.
If I could just jump in. If you recall, these ponds were being redone with grant funds. So it's largely a grant-funded project. We're going to be picking up the change orders, which is fairly small compared to the overall price of the projects. I believe in total, it will be about $2 million worth of projects between this and then removing the landscaping on Grandview Boulevard that will be covered by the grant. And then we'll just use the other funds from the water fund to pay for these change orders. So in all, a lot of work that needed to be done, but we're very confident with the result that's happening. And just to point out something a little humorous is I remember when we lined these ponds 15 years ago. So the fact that we're coming back now and being able to concrete line them, hopefully that will take us way, way into the future, not having to do this again.
Okay. Councilman McComber?
Yeah, so I appreciate that, Mark. I was going to make the same comment. I remember when we did line them and we had made the decision that at the time financially to use the plastic instead of the cement, and we knew that we would be here, but it was the right decision for the taxpayers' money at the time. And then being able to get grants has been fantastic. So my question is what product, I mean, do we have other processes to make sure that we're not, in our existing other ponds, that we're not having these same kind of leaking issues? Because leaking in the water is what causes the erosion and then it's causing the sinking. So I just want to make sure that, one, we're putting in ways that we can monitor this while we're doing these ponds, that there's ways that we can identify a leak, just like we can tell residents now when their sprinkler system is leaking or they're using water unnecessarily. I'm hoping that we've implemented that same kind of technology in our ponds as well.
The ponds do include an under drain system that's a more porous stone material with piping in it, and that piping leads to drains that we can monitor to watch for leaking. And that's how we found out on Pond 3 that it was significantly leaking, and then the backtrack with some dye testing to actually find the location.
Are we using human beings to go and see that, or are we using like devices to see that?
This is really a human being thing. We're able to look through in a manhole directly and see the.
Yeah. I mean, if we can use some similar technologies that we're even using for residents, we can, if there's some, like a meter that we can put on, how much water's coming across that, I don't know.
Yeah.
But if we could just start looking and being creative, let's use technology to our advantage. Artificial intelligence can also be monitoring things. Human beings, we only have so many employees, and getting them to every location where we have water, it can be a challenge. So I just appreciate the hard work and noticing things. I'm just now wanting to make sure that while we're on these projects, and let's put these meters or whatever we can, and then let's even look at our other locations to make sure that we're staying on top of it. My other key thing is Mark, you did make a comment, just because it's not really part of this, but you did bring it up, about Grandview Boulevard. We're not removing the landscaping, we're getting rid of the grass, and we're gonna put like rocks, and so there'll still be landscaping on Grandview. I don't want
We'll
to
be
get a
moving
phone
to a
call.
water-wise landscape.
A water-wise landscaping, but there still will be a nice looking, and will be maintained by the city, and we will make sure it stays weeded and all of that kind of thing so that it looks nice. But I just didn't want to get texts saying, why are you getting rid of those nice islands? Because the trees are very nice. People like the trees. We're still going to be watering the trees. We're just getting rid of the grass. Where most of the water, because of the size of the islands, most of the water was on Grandview.
Thanks for that clarification. Thanks.
One thing I could add real quick is we do have a very robust SCADA system, a supervisory control and data acquisition system that we use to monitor things that are going on, for example, at our ponds and tanks. And as part of that pond monitoring, we're watching water levels, we're watching the flow rates going into the ponds, we're watching, the pond levels, so that we do have a pretty robust system in place that helps identify problems that may occur at the locations and make
That's
sure
fantastic.
that our ponds are full and that they're not being used too fast.
Yeah, and if it's dropping and we're pumping out water, but it's dropping more than us pumping,
Exactly.
hopefully there's an alert system in there. that
There
will be
is,
able to-
exactly.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Okay. Councilman Carn?
That's exactly what I was going to ask. To second what Councilman McComber just said, I was out of town last week and I got an email from the city that said, it appears you've got water running, and I hope we have the same system for our public works, because it was super effective. Someone was house sitting and they left an outside hose dripping. And I went through 3,000 gallons of dripping on the outside, but. It's not 8, that's right. Because I got a proactive, email from our WaterWise portal.
Maybe that's a marketing, remind people about that.
Yeah, so if you're not using the WaterWise portal, go ahead to the city website and sign up for that. If you do sign up for it, it's free. You get proactive alerts, and if you do have a water problem, you get one-time forgiveness on that.
If you use the.
I'm not going to use it on this one. It's not big enough.
You're waiting
The bigger one?
Yeah. But no, I wanted to make sure that we had similar proactive monitoring, and it sounds like we do.
Okay, perfect. I will entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve business item 2 as stated on the agenda.
I'll second.
I have a first from Councilman Wilden, second from Councilman Comber. Any further discussion? Wadman?
Aye.
Barton?
Aye.
Comber?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Carn?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have business item 3, the change order for Landmark Excavating Cemetery Project.
Mayor and council, Jeremy is online. He's remote tonight. So if I mess anything up, he might pipe in. But essentially, this change order for Landmark is for some additional things that we've added up at the cemetery, which includes conduit and things over to where we're going to have our storage site so that we can add additional security, things of that nature. We're also going to be paving a single lane over to that pad site so that we can have some enhanced security and things of that nature. And that's for where we'll be, putting future equipment and things. Ultimately, we'll build a shop out there and things, but in the interim, we want to make sure that we have the ability to protect that, and that's what that change order request is for.
And it's a little out of the way
It
because we
is.
don't want it to be seen, and so it's going to cost a little bit to get
Right.
stuff to it.
And then just as a quick update, grass and sod going in, trees going in, and
It's looking great.
the cemetery is, I think, very near having all of the cremation garden features being installed. So it's right there, and I haven't seen the grass, but I hear it's looking really good, so.
And we have security cameras going in up front on like the cremation garden with the rise in delinquents that we've seen.
Yes.
Okay,
We will have those features, but again, we needed to get the conduit through the project to make sure that we had that access.
perfect.
Anyway,
Okay.
thank you.
I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve business item 3, change order 1 for Landmark Excavating Cemetery Project Resolution R25-39 dated today.
I have a first from Councilman
Second.
Carn, and a second from Councilman Wadman. Okay, any further discussion? Wadman?
Aye.
Carn?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Comber?
Aye.
Barton?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Mayor, if I could just add one last thing. One of the things that I forgot to mention is that we were able to use the tailings off of the Mountain View Corridor project to use that as road base for that pad that's being built, as well as road base for where those roads are. And we were able to actually get some savings on the other project for delivering and using those millings up in that area. So it doesn't, we don't often get to kind of celebrate how we're able to take a recycled material from one project and use it to enhance and provide additional value at another
We took
project.
end-of-life asphalt and put it in the cemetery. Okay.
Seems fit. As a road
That's
base,
fitting,
yes.
that's fitting.
But, hey, Mayor,
Yeah,
and thanks for bringing that up, Mark. I think the city, I don't know if that goes unseen a lot of times, where the city is being very cautious of the public money and spending it, so I think that's kudos. One other thing, can I ask a question? How is it being received, the cemetery? I think we got pretty good traction there, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Recorder's Department has been very busy with appointments with residents to, do the cemetery sales and things of that nature, so I think it's been very successful.
Yeah.
And so, it's interesting and it's moving well. I couldn't tell you an exact number. I know Nikki probably could, but it's going well.
Nikki's nodding her head. She's got a number for us. 163? Okay.
Is that about 10%? I'd guess probably close to,
Of phase 1.
A phase one, yeah.
yeah, a phase 1, yeah.
Perfect. That's good. Okay. We have a work session tonight, the Welfare Complex Potential Amendment to Community Plan, Village Plan, in and out.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have Todd Smith here that is representing In-N-Out Burger. He is the development manager. You are welcome to come on up. He will be doing most of the presentation. I just wanted to give you kind of an overview. I know you saw the papers that are the documents that Todd had sent over for this work session. However, I just wanted to give you an idea of how it has been handled in the city so far. We received a concept plan in February of this year, and we did a thorough review, as we always do, to give them the code so that they know how to submit their site plan. And Todd has brought up several instances where they feel that they could use an exception to our code. Just to give you an overall view of where it is, it's right there in front of DI along Redwood Road and Medical Drive. This was their concept plan that they submitted in the beginning. It just gives you an idea of some of their numbers. Of course, they are conceptual. They are doing a double drive-through lane, queuing. They have their parking actually over-parked significantly for the size of their building. But other than that, I am going to let Todd take over and take it from here. I'll be able to help in any way I can.
So I'm really glad to be here. My name's Todd Smith, as mentioned, Development Manager for In-N-Out Burger. And if you'll indulge me for a minute, I'll just touch on a couple of history points. We like to share a little bit of our history and background as it guides who we are and how we operate. In-N-Out Burger was founded in 1948 by Harry and Esther Snyder. Harry Snyder was a World War II veteran, and he used some GI Bill money to build a 10 by 10 hamburger stand in Baldwin Park, California. To date, Lindsay Snyder, Harry and Esther's granddaughter, now runs the company. The company is all privately held. It's a family business, and we operate as a family business and share those family values to this day. Some of those values are expressed in our mission statement. We like to use our mission statement because it's not something that we just concocted at one time and sit in a drawer. It's something that is on our business cards. It's posted in our meeting rooms. It's something that we truly embrace as a company. And in particular, we like to share point number 3. We really do, when we enter new cities and new markets and all of the cities in which we operate, we try to improve those cities to make them stronger, safer, and better places to live. We do that in many ways. Of course, we hire people, train them, and pay them well above market wages. It's a hallmark of our company that we pay well and take good care of our associates. They're wonderful people, and they make us who we are. We also, back in 1984, Harry and Esther Snyder actually founded the In-N-Out Burger Foundation, and that is a foundation that helps abused children. More recently, Lindsay started a foundation called Slave to Nothing. Slave to Nothing is a foundation that helps human trafficking and addiction, which are scourges in our society today and in our communities, and it's a priority to us to make those communities better. In-N-Out underwrites all of those organizations so that every dollar raised by those organizations goes to their intended uses, and it goes to local charities in our communities in which we operate. It's a significant priority for us, and we continue that to this day. So going on to the project, as Gina touched on, we submitted a concept plan for our project a few months ago, and the staff did a wonderful review, very, very thorough review, gave us about 40 pages of code comments and everything. And in those comments, really, we agree with most of them. We intend to design with those in mind, but there's just a handful of things that we had some conflicts and concerns with, and that's really why I'm here tonight, is just to present those concerns with you. It's my understanding, like, the process right now we would go through is a site plan review, which is, in this case, ministerial. It's purely required that we meet the code and standards and guidelines of the city. And that would go to, as I understand it, the planning commission, but they would just review it specifically. Do you meet code or do you not meet code? And right now we meet code, but we do have some questions on some design considerations. it's also my understanding that there's an available path for us to, because we're in the welfare complex, village plan, community plan, we could pursue an amendment to that plan to get relief from some of our questions on the design elements, and that's why we're here tonight. So, looking at the renderings of our building, I could go to the first question, which is, and I assume that you've read through the letter that I submitted and touched on those items. Well, the first item, and this is really the most important item for us, is the requirement to have windows on the first floor of the building facade that faces a public street. This is the building facade that would face Redwood Drive. And it's where our drive-through is located. It's, the only window there is our pay window on that side of the building. And the challenge we have is just moving southerly or rearward from the pay window is we have our walk-in cooler, we have associate locker rooms where they're changing and things like that. And we also have our electrical room, and it's just not conducive to windows.
Can I just?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I was gonna ask is, would you be opposed to like faux windows over it, like we did it on our tactical holiday oil?
We have a lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, because some of these others going along here, you look in and I can see the kitchen at the Place Pizza and others, and it's like, I'd rather see a fake window that I can't see through than their kitchen.
You're right.
Yeah, and we don't feel the windows, in this instance, we don't feel the faux windows enhance the building. We feel it detracts from it. And further, on our drive-through side, you really aren't gonna have a lot of visibility of windows. Cars will be lining up there in our drive-through, and it would block mostly that visibility anyway. We have decorative archways and columns. We really do take pride in the design of our buildings. And part of the reason we're here is we just don't feel faux windows enhances that appearance.
So, I mean, I'm looking at this, and I went online and looked at probably 60 of your buildings, and you've put faux windows in other buildings. I've seen them on the drive-through. You have them, like one in National City, I think it was, because their city council was pretty tough on you. I was reading some of the notes.
Centerville, they have them.
But like some of them, you have a lot more brick and up higher where this is so stark white, which I know our code does require certain like multiple materials and different things. And I'm surprised that this meets code with just this little 3 feet of brick along the base. And because like my thought is maybe we brick or we do something on those columns instead of just having them be white and disappear basically because they just blend in with all the other white. I get white as your thing, but you have beige. You do have beige In-N-Out burgers. You do have them throughout the country, the West here, and where. I mean, you would never be able to put this in Park City. Good luck when you try to go to Park City. Yours is gonna have to look like a Western building, but, because Park City's code is much stricter than ours. But I'm just thinking, what can we do to enhance? Because the point of windows is it breaks the eye and but white columns on a white wall doesn't necessarily. And so would you be willing to like do some of the things we've done in the others where even your whole big boxes, like around the drive-through is like faux like brick, like looks really nice, and some of them have like really nice accented the full height of the building has brick and accent, and it just makes the building a lot more appealing. Because what we're trying to do is make it fair, and not just because In-N-Out's an amazing, people love it. I mean, I grew up in California, I love In-N-Out Burger, but we've been hard on, we didn't allow a lot of things that Raising Cane's wanted, Jack in the Box. We've been hard. We hold strong. And so if you're not gonna have windows, I'm not a fan of just, I want an exception. What are you gonna bring to enhance the building to then say, okay, maybe I'm okay not doing a window if you do X, Y, and Z to create a more unique In-N-Out burger for Saratoga Springs?
Well,
and just to give you some context with the code, it's 75% of one color. Our material is what we don't allow. So we don't allow more than 75% of one material and color on an elevation.
This has to be.
And this is, right, they haven't submitted the site plan, so we haven't been able to evaluate that, but that was a red line on the concept plan. So, those were things that they were
And I think you're familiar
But
with
yeah.
that because other cities that you've had that kind of requirement, you put brick or stone to like break it up. And so I think you shouldn't have a problem, but maybe that's how you enhance this area so that when you are coming in, this is a work session, right? This is supposed to be a
Yeah,
dialogue.
Yep, yep.
Windows maybe don't make sense, full windows, you don't want to do it, whatever. I think full windows are great, but what are you going to do to make that look? I know you say cars, but you're elevated. And so Redwood Road, they're going to be able to see a lot of this. So yeah, I'm done for now, Mayor, but I maybe later too. but-
Well, just,
I could jump in also.
oh, yeah, please.
I just think we should be on the record. Everybody wants this.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right. Can I
mean,
say that?
For
I'll be
70,000
first thing
people,
in-
I think
yeah.
probably 69,500 people are excited for this to be here. And we will,
Chris drives the blue Ford.
we will see that on opening weekend, right?
Right.
And for months to come. But to Councilman McComber's point, we have held the line
On a lot of.
directly across the street from this, where we have faux windows where, you know, there's nothing behind them, but it breaks up that visual. And so,
They actually look really nice.
yeah, and so there are absolutely, I'll be getting my double, and I think we're all excited for this.
Animal style right here.
We just have to come to an agreement here on how we make this work for everybody, so.
And I think that's why the work session is just to
Right.
give them feedback,
Yep.
so when they come in, it can be smooth
Yep,
instead
the
of.
application's easy.
Yeah, because you know exactly what we're expecting. So if you decide you really don't want windows, make it look really good so that we can tell the businesses across the street that they had to put those in, why we are treating in and out differently.
No, that's a really good question and a fair point. So my question back to you then would be, is that something you're willing to work with? So for example, if we were to forego windows and do another enhancement, is there a trade-off there that you're willing to concede?
My only concern is we, directly across the street, we
Right.
made them do it.
I'm
So
not sure I
That's
could-
why I'm
I mean,
concerned.
I don't want to set a precedent, but at the same time, like,
Osmond property.
but like, I think that, I mean, obviously it can't be 90% white like this. I mean, it has to mix up and stuff. But I mean, you could bring it in and we'd have to have a conversation. But right now you're hearing about 3 of us who are concerned that we're setting a precedence. Now, real quick on the zone welfare, this is obviously not a welfare building, unless you're planning on giving the burgers away for free. Are you planning on doing that?
So for the community plan and village plan, it states that this lot
Because-
is to follow Title 19 under the regional commercial zone. So.
I'm not
Right.
willing to give him the, because that's
I'm just
guy
giving-
and the Bishop's Storehouse. I'm not willing to change and allow you a little loophole. So I
Yeah.
personally, I'm 1 of 5, but I'm not allowed in that loophole. You got to follow Title 19. And so I wouldn't pursue that route, for at least me.
No, fair input. And so really that's the intent here, is just to gauge that, to see, because really we have 2 paths, right? Our path is site plan review, follow code, and that'll drive us, and that's what we'll do. Or we had some questions here, and to gauge your receptiveness to those questions, because sensitivity to your time as well as ours, I don't want to pursue an amendment to the village plan, take a couple of months doing that, and have you come back and raise all these issues and disagree with it, and we've lost that time.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to be sensitive to all of our time here to get your feedback and help guide us in that direction.
Yeah, because I'm telling you right now, people want this open by Halloween.
I think we should go through the other 5 too.
Yeah, let's just
Then we
take
can go
a
back.
quick.
Well, Todd, one
So
question
really-
but there are other in and outs, even local, that have the
Have windows right there, yeah.
right there. Because you drive through, you can see them doing the potatoes and all the way through, right?
I don't know if they're visible or not. In their older stores, it has been done in the past. It is something that we've gotten away from.
Yeah, American Fork has it.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
Well, it's an
Yeah.
older store.
Yeah.
Older, yeah.
Within the last, what, 10 years?
10 years.
Yeah.
10, 12 years, yeah.
Because I did a lot of trips to Vegas to go.
Well, I used to before we got it up here. I mean, the
Exactly.
first stop when you got to Vegas was In-N-Out Burger. So, I mean, we want to make sure, but we have to stay fair, right? You can't
No,
get-
totally understood.
We held Costco. I mean, Costco's parking lot was one of the most expensive parking lots in Costco history. They now love it. But they were very opposed to it, but that was our code. And now they make that their standard. So you might find that by working with us, you'll find some things that'll really work great for you guys.
Well, we've done that. And so looking at a couple of other things, walking down the list, so the awnings were another sensitivity, right? And just to give you an idea, our standard awning is protrudes 3 feet from the building. And the requirement now in the code requires it to come out 4 feet from the building. It makes the awning bigger in every dimension. Again, I circulated the renderings I'm showing you here tonight, I circulated internally. Lindsay Snyder approves every store design. It's her decision, and she's approved these, even with the larger awnings. So it's something that we could do. It's not our preference. I believe the awnings are too big, and they're out of place on the building. It kind of disrupts the overall aesthetic.
What's
And
the reasoning behind our 4 feet? Is it just in our code, or?
it's in the code, and it's to,
Line when you're underneath, walking underneath and things like that, so you're not getting tripped on, so that it basically, 3 feet is kind of a standard hallway in your home or, and so really, if you have two people walking by each other, anyway.
But by
makes-
4
that
feet, it
makes
puts it
sense.
more over the walkway, correct?
that's the intent, right?
So basically, it's raining or something.
It's off the curb instead of on the.
Hitting you, so 4 feet covers a 3-foot walkway.
So is their walkway more than 3 feet? It looks like it's bigger.
It is, and we have flat work that is in front of our restaurant.
Right, because you have a lot, because I mean,
Yeah.
you have seating and
Yeah.
and all this.
You're
Because
cor-
but my thing
correct.
is, I'm okay with this one, because obviously it's.
Don't care about
This one doesn't bug me, because obviously they're still gonna get dripped on, because your sidewalk exceeds.
And it's not your main, like, I picture the 4 foot when we had that discussion, a main street, a downtown, you're walking from shop to shop. This, I'm going in the door and out. So I mean,
Well,
3
and I-
feet's not a big.
But have we made any, and I'm looking at other councilmen, have we ever had this come up before, the awning?
I have no idea, what did you say?
Have we ever
How did
not?
anyone else ask us?
An
about it?
exception on an awning
okay.
size.
We've never
I
done
don't
it.
remember.
Okay.
My time, I've never.
Has anyone ever asked for it?
That's what I'm asking, because I just, I
I've never-
want to make sure that we're consistent. Yeah.
I've never had anybody come in
walk.
with
Okay.
concern over that.
Well, for me, it seems to me, the intent of the code is for the awning to be more of like entrance to a hotel or something where where pedestrians are walking under something for protection. Our awnings are really decorative aesthetics. They're window shade and things like that. They're not really meant to cover pedestrian walk.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're hearing from the council, this is
Yeah.
where, so you're feeling like you're probably, that exception might work. Okay, next.
I think it should be 3 feet 7 inches.
You got 3 feet 7 inches.
I'm kidding.
Steven. Chris is going for 3 feet 13 inches.
I think we should be converted to the metric system.
Do you have a landscaping concern here, I see?
Yeah, the landscaping concern, which actually, we've had some discussion with staff, and they've conceded that it's really no longer a concern, that we meet with our present design, we meet the landscape requirements. My concern there was the code does indicate having landscape planters right up against the building, and we are very sensitive to our building construction.
Water erosion.
Yeah, we
You just
like.
heard we have a problem with that here.
Yeah, so we don't put planters beside the building for water intrusion purposes, and so forth. And staff has informed me that right now, that our present landscaping design it meets that. So I
Don't
think
need to.
we're good there.
Okay, so that's good.
And, other item on the awnings, the way the code seems to read is, we'd like to have the palm trees on the awnings. It's a decorative feature. I think in the strictest interpretation of the code, it seems to consider it signage.
Yes, it does.
And so palm trees are not signage to us. The arrow and the in and out sign is our signage. It's a decorative
So
feature,
we've
but we
had
like to do
other
it.
entities come in asking for a big one.
Yeah, we shot it down.
We shot it down. We've had other entities asking for a duck. We shot it down. So I personally, just so you know, like, if it is a brand, it's a branding thing, California palm trees and stuff. If you want, you can do that on the inside. You can even do it on the percentage of your windows, because you're allowed a certain percentage of your windows. You can have signage, like we did with holiday oil and stuff. But me personally, as one of five, and I mean, you can see nodding or not, or shaking their heads and stuff. But to me, we shot down others for even less obvious, and yours is very bold, so.
I agree.
So solid red, but we're okay with 3 feet.
Yeah,
I'm okay
3
with the
feet's fine.
That does, yeah.
That
I get why we have
Yeah.
the 4 feet, it doesn't really apply.
The other item we have is the code requires our that 50% of site lighting be dimmed or turned off after 11 PM. Our operating hours extend beyond 11. We go to 1 AM and 1:30 AM on the weekends. Again, site lighting for our customers and our associates for safety and general public good. We like to have well-lit properties for that general safety. We would like to have our site lighting be our standard lighting and properly illuminate the site. We would, of course, have the appropriate cutoff so there's no spillage onto other properties. And here, there's no residential around us. Follow the guidelines for that, any trespass lighting or anything of that nature, but we'd like to keep lighting on the property up until our closing. We would close, we would shut lighting off other than security lighting at our closing time. Signage turns off and everything when we're closed, except for security lighting that is required.
I've gone first.
I've gone back and forth on this a gazillion times in the last few days because it's not by residences, right? And so I'm like, oh, maybe it wouldn't be so bad, but then also like it's something we require everybody else to do it.
When we have other businesses that are open past 11, we require them.
We do. And so that's why I really, it's,
If we do it here, we're gonna have to let
I guess
all-
my question is, in our commercial, do we need to look at changing?
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think we should change our commercial.
Do we look at like where they're located and how close they are residences? Maybe we need to look at the code a little bit and maybe do some changes, right? Like you,
Because some of these, I feel like when I've gone later, I'm like, man, it's a little dingy and dark.
It's
Taco Bell,
almost-
for
it's almost
instance.
scary.
It's too
like Taco
dark.
Bell and Winnie's, all that over there, it is very dark right there. And it's not by any place, so could maybe allow lights to be on later, right?
If we look at that, I'd just say within a certain, has to be so far from existing homes.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that is, I don't know.
Well, the thing is we could have, I mean, you're using LED lights, I assume.
Yes,
And you can have them where they're shielded and they aim down.
yes.
And that meets a lot of the dark sky requirements. But
No
like where
matter
it doesn't
what,
even
right?
bleed out, where it has to end, there's some really good technology where it has to end right at their property line. It can't bleed.
It does, that's my reference to the trespass lighting, and I think when, it's my understanding, in the commercial areas where we're not adjacent to residential, it's up to 5 candle feet or
Which is
lighting.
extremely
Yeah.
tight, for those of you who don't know.
So,
5 candle feet.
But we would meet all trespass, whatever off premises we would meet, yes. We would
So-
keep the lighting on site.
If staff could explain how their request currently is not meeting code, so that the council can see where that's coming from?
Yeah, so, the code states at 1 hour after closing or by 11 PM is when lighting should be shut down, at least 50% of their lighting. So In-N-Out is what they're asking for is that they are open on Sunday through Thursday from 10:30 to 1 AM. And then Friday and Saturday, 10:30 AM to 1:30 PM. AM. So that's what they're asking is to turn off 50% of their lighting 1 hour before closing, right?
That's
Oh,
30
sorry.
minutes after.
At 1 hour, yeah, 1 hour after closing or by their closing time, right?
2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I think I saw where you said 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Oh, 30 minutes, is that, yeah, sorry. And just to take the dark sky lighting like Sarah is talking about, sitting on the Jordan River Commission, we have actually been working on a lighting ordinance or lighting standards for the Jordan River. And one of the people that sit on that board or on that committee stated that the reason, in fact, they used our verbiage from our code to add to these standards because it's the migration of the birds and the wildlife in the area. And that is one of the reasons why they.
This within that corridor of the Jordan River, it seems?
No, it's not. It's not within a certain amount of feet.
Because I know that
So,
we
right.
have certain lighting requirements along the Jordan River, along the shoreline, where I feel
Right.
like this is further in the commercial. There is quite a bit of buildings that would block.
Right.
Any spillage. The 5 candle with
Right.
within 5 feet, that is like, for those in the audience who don't understand, that is like really no light whatsoever. So In-N-Out's not gonna be lighting up
Right.
the Jordan River.
No, and that was the part of the discussion when we were talking about this with that committee, is that we have Patriot Park right there. What about stadium seating, stadium or sports field lighting?
Those lights at Patriot Park.
And they are,
till midnight
they are really
or
bright.
later.
So I think in the standard, yeah, I think in the standards, they said within a certain number of feet, I think it's 500 feet, maybe 300 to 500 feet from the Jordan River.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to give you some
For the mayor's
context.
recommendation, that's, we.
Let's
direct
look at it.
staff to Look at our lighting for businesses that are open later, but.
Can I
Yeah.
make one suggestion? And I'm looking for the letter. I know that the J-list study that we
We're
did with
outside of
Kemp,
it.
I don't remember if we're outside the light zone. I just want us to check.
Walmart is outside it.
I just want to check that one thing, and I can't pull it up right now.
It's the JLS, it's the Camp Williams study.
Camp
and
Williams.
Oh, okay.
It's a cooperative agreement. It's not like have to do something, but I'm almost positive that Walmart was outside of it because I remember having that conversation like 10 years ago.
So I've got a quick question, Kevin, for you. If we give feedback that we don't like, we want them to follow the code, they bring their application in a couple months, and we haven't updated our code yet, but then we update our code when they're under construction. Will that apply to all commercial at that point if we change the zoning requirements?
For lighting?
Basically, can Walmart leave their lights on?
Oh,
Oh, we can just do it in the village plan amendment.
a village plan, so these would be exceptions they would apply for through a village plan.
like Fat Cat's video board.
Like they're
yeah.
on the road.
If you wanted it to be citywide, it would need to be a code amendment.
But we don't have to do it city.
Well, we don't have to make it citywide.
Village plan, and it would be specific to them.
So I think then they're covered, but Chris and Jim, I think that we really do need to
Let's
revisit
just
this
look at it, mhm.
as a citywide because.
Part of the village core.
As the city core and our commercial core, Wendy's, Taco Bell.
Because it is
they
really
should-
dark over there after, it's dark.
So I think they're covered potentially, so. if you
Gina,
came
I'd be
in and asked
curious
for-
what other cities are doing.
With the.
Lighting.
Like the lighting.
For any business who wants to be open till 1, because Wendy's is
We can
1.
look into it, yeah.
Yeah. Just, like I said, I was at Taco Bell the other day and I
Yeah,
was like,
it's
"Man, this is
dark.
dark out
It
here."
is.
It's almost like creepy.
It's a little creepy dark.
So,
I don't want to leave, that's why you stay in the drive-thru.
I'm supportive, if we do this in the village plan, let's look at it across the city, fairness. And I think it would need to be
you're-
retroactively applicable.
but it needs to be away from like residents.
Right,
Because I'd hate to see Walmart start hitting that golf course.
Yeah, it needs
Not
to be-
Walmart, Maverick.
Maverick, yeah.
Maybe, the distance, what we have for hotels or something like that, I think it's like
A
500.
little big, it's a little bit bigger than regular.
Yeah.
Councilmember Carn, do you still need to answer that question? I know
No, I
Sarah
think we're good.
for me, but I don't know exactly what you're asking. Are you asking
I
about?
think I'm
particular
good.
Ordinances?
But Chris, we can
We're
do
good.
pending, we can actually do a pending ordinance as well, that we're looking into it. And that then grandfathers in all the people
We have
on a negative or a
typically
positive.
interpreted the code if it becomes less restrictive, that we apply that retroactively to existing
everybody, okay.
properties, yeah.
So,
That's how we've interpreted it, it's not like a question that has been answered by any courts, but that's how we've applied it.
And this one isn't like infrastructure, it's changing a timer.
yeah. So I think for Todd tonight, yes, it'll be following code, but we're going to look at code. So
And you can
whatever
bring
code
in-
is.
As part of your village plan, you can bring in an amendment.
Yeah, so that's a really good point. So thank you for that guidance. I'll circle back and summarize. I just want to make one other request, which is that the sign ordinance, we presently would comply with the sign ordinance, but as I understand it, we get 3 wall signs and a monument sign, or we can forego the monument sign and add the 4th wall sign. As a part of the amendment, if we came forward with 4 wall signs and the monument.
We've had many who've asked for that. And said no, we told them no. You're not the first, right?
Yeah.
And so,
No, I figured, but
because then I'm gonna have every other company come in and say, I want my 4th sign. You really don't need it, I promise you. You're gonna have plenty of knowledge. People are gonna know you're there. You don't need to spend all that money on the 4th sign, I promise you.
Mayor and council,
Yeah.
I asked Sarah if she could throw out a site. We're done with the 5 items that were brought up by the applicant. I am very concerned about Medical Drive getting
traffic.
blocked up with traffic.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up.
And the current site
This is a
plan,
concern of
and
mine
we
too.
talked about this, and so the current site plan it potentially could impact Medical Drive, and huge fan of In-N-Out. There's always traffic. We cannot have traffic spilling onto Medical Drive because it would be very, very impactful. And so one of the concerns that I just wanted to kind of bring to this attention is, and we've already seen a lot of social media posts about this, is that we do not have queuing that goes out onto the streets and becomes problematic for the residents. And so if you can zoom in a little bit, Sarah, I don't know if you can.
Well, you have the other drawing.
So
That's the right orientation.
there you go.
And then this one's correct, yeah.
So my concern is really right here. As you see these, this access point here, there would be a median here that would prevent left-hand turns out, which is good. But my concern is this drive-through lane here coming out and spilling out onto the roadway? And I know that this is a work session, but I want to make sure that the applicant is very aware of the concerns that have been raised relative to blocking Medical Drive and having people queuing out onto that for the drive lanes.
So real quick, I want to ask Kevin. Kevin, are we allowed to hold a business hostage because they're popular? Or do we have to hold them to the same standard we've held every other fast food restaurant that's come through Saratoga Springs?
Of course, you'd hold them to the same standard you hold everyone else to.
So this is a real concern
Yeah.
for me, Mark, because I've thought about this a lot. I don't feel comfortable penalizing, and I know we can say that they're not allowed to use a public street, and if they do, then they can get fined, or we can do whatever, we can have the police come out, or whatever. But my personal concern is, if they're queuing 3 times the cars that any other already, because they do know it's a problem. I mean, you did an American Fork,
I
if
was
you were
gonna say,
familiar.
it
you guys
did go out
really
on Pioneer Crossing at first, and then they
but you made
fixed
a
it.
real, you made a
Yeah.
real fix, and you like expanded, you bought the lot next to you and
Yeah.
everything. So I'm hoping that you understand how many cars are gonna be queuing here, how popular you're gonna be, and that you make the right decision. But I personally don't feel comfortable mandating something because I feel like that's overstepping, because I didn't mandate Wendy's, I didn't mandate Taco Bell, and Raising Cane's did go out onto the road and into the streets within that complex when it was opening up, but we didn't hold them to a higher standard, even though they're a very popular chicken restaurant.
You asked me to answer a question, you gave me 2 alternatives. I'd have to research that more, but remember, under the district area plan, you have the discretion, the legislative discretion, to determine the location of uses. So you may be able to have the discretion within that.
But they've already gotten
Say no
approved for this
to
location.
site.
They've been approved for this location.
No, they have not. They have not submitted a site plan application, just a concept
And
On this
again,
location.
on this location.
And that is why I wanted to bring it up early, because again, if, we know how busy the intersection right here is with Costco and with that use. Again, fundamentally, there is the concern of if we block up that whole lane and people can't turn in, it has a potential of impacting Redwood Road. And again, it's an immensely popular restaurant, so that's a positive. But again, we just need to be mindful of that. And on that, we will want to be looking at what the transportation master plan or the transportation planning will look like. Again, we don't have that application. We just have a concept here. But I just want to make sure that we're very transparent with the applicant up front, that that is something that we'll be looking at to make sure that we're not bogging down the state road and that we're not bogging down Medical Drive because it's queuing out onto the roadway.
But when other restaurants came in, did we say, hey, Raising Cane's, I don't want you going over onto Redwood Road with your queuing? We didn't, and Raising Cane's is very popular,
I think to his point, they're not in the DAP.
but they're not in the DAP. I know that
We can do that because of the DAP.
we can do that in the DAP, I understand that. But at the same time, technically then we can allow them to have an extra sign. Because they're in the DAP.
Can we hear from the
Technically, we can allow
from-
them to do everything, right? So we need to, I just think we should be treating, we've been saying all day, we're treating you the same as everyone else, but then we're treating them differently now, so.
It's just when you come back the next time, can you just like address those?
Let me just
Traffic study.
quickly address it right now, if I may, just to help ameliorate your concerns. First off, yes, we're very aware of that, and we do address it. As you can see in the design of our building. So for example, part of the reason that we have the challenge of where the side facing Redwood is because where we've located the building maximizes our site layout and maximizes our drive-through. We have a 32-car queue, dedicated queue for this. Code requires 6. So we're over 5 times code requirement already. And we've designed that into the building anticipating that. We're fully aware. And I believe that at 32, I'd go back and double check, but it puts us probably in like the 95th percentile of our averages. That's a very extensive queue. In addition to that,
For
we've
6 months,
actually.
it'll be crazy, but it'll calm down. Chick-fil-A was crazy, it's calmed down.
Yeah.
I'm sure the AF stores ever calm down.
What's that?
The AF store In and Out, because I'm there at 12:30 in the
Go
morning.
by there at 1 in the morning, it's 60 cars in line.
Well, but they have all of us driving to
Yeah, that's true, that's true, that's true.
This is actually a Pioneer Crossing traffic reduction.
An eastbound
right.
reduction.
But we've also made some other changes in the site plan. We've actually brought our drive-through entrance, we've brought it further north at more of a right angle, so there's more throat to that drive entrance at Medical Drive. So there's no backup onto Medical Drive, there's more space there. So what we submit, we'll do that. It also brings us over to the western property line parking where we could, if we had a temporary rush or overstack, we could stack cars into that parking lot. We have 2 acres here and 79 parking spaces. We have plenty of room to handle that overstack.
What's your parking, how much do they exceed parking right now?
They have 70,
We have 79 and it's
and
code
it
30.
requires like 35.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could queue your traffic into your parking.
Yes,
But
we,
they
people
still would meet their
forward
parking
To
requirement.
the.
yeah, we're in
Haven't-
very
have
good
we-
shape there.
Have we done our parking requirement to have parking for outside seating yet? We haven't actually addressed that yet.
It's drafted, it'll be coming to you soon.
Okay.
That's a good idea,
It went to planning commission, so it'll be coming to you.
So it's well aware then. People are aware of it. Okay.
And then
So you guys, that's the outdoor parking because we don't.
That's a pending ordinance right now if the planning commission has made a positive recommendation.
So it's a pending ordinance. Okay.
Right.
We also have a concern about the north, so the DI plat did do an amendment so that this driveway is part of the DI plat, and there is an easement, and this is the north heading to the Saratoga Commercial Development, but then there's debate over who should actually build the stub, so you have this driveway right here, so we just need a little bit of asphalt right here, but it's outside of their property boundary. It's now in the DI lot, but it does have an easement on it.
So we're super supportive of that and we'll cooperate in any way we can. We've given that drive aisle. We'll even help construct or do anything we can. We just need the church's permission. And I
So it
just,
sounds like we have that.
Doesn't the easement grant you permission?
no, it doesn't directly. As I understand it, the church owns that access aisle and so it's off of our property. So we're looking into that and we'll
Staff
certainly.
will help you mitigate any of those. concerns.
Absolutely, we're fully supportive of that to the extent, again, those outside of our control, if they're willing to cooperate, we're fully supportive and we'll do all we can.
Worst case scenario, it queues back into another commercial area, the queuing for temporary, that, I'd much
Right,
rather have a
just-
queue back in
Now we'll
there.
have a gap with dirt on it, so we're trying to.
Well, no, I'm saying if we can work with the church, making sure the church and because they're willing to build it, the church better not hold us up, or else I'm gonna make it very clear on social media that they did.
held up In and Out, right?
You might, support the church a lot, but if they hold you up, you're in and out, there might be a question.
So, Mark, I have a question. I mean, I know this is open working session, but cars turning in there that are going to Costco, is that going to jam them up too, or are we worried about?
I think that's the concern that we're looking at is if we get a line of cars, there's basically a 2 lanes coming off of Redwood Road. And if one of those lanes is backed up to the road, and again, we've seen with American Fork, the backups through the parking lots out onto Pioneer Crossing.
Nobody fixed it,
And
yeah.
whatever that
But they
state.
fixed it. No, it's fixed.
It's big.
Okay.
I don't know if
Not one car goes on to Pioneer Crossing.
I don't drive over there during peak hours for that reason, but.
We're there for peak hours.
It goes in and then actually.
Fundamentally, to
Yeah.
your question, Councilmember Wadman, is we just want to make sure that that's being managed and it's just not becoming a extended queue. And you've mentioned that you've changed the site plan, which is great from the concept plan I was looking at. What we don't want people to do is realize, hey, if I just come around this corner, I can jump the rest of the queue because they're now trying to zipper in right at the start of the line. instead of going to the back of the line. And I think that it's
And that's
doable.
where they have cones.
Yeah,
Mark,
we have
we can give them our feedback, but please, he's tripled, quadrupled, quintupled his queuing. He has double the parking.
Yep.
Even if he uses his parking to keep it off mountain. I just feel like we got to be careful because we are expecting a lot more out of one business than another, and
Well-
I have never been a fan of that.
One thing that In-N-Out does is they know how to handle their
We do.
crowds.
We're heavily staffed. They're fully
know how to keep your
experienced
staff-
and,
your
yeah.
customers happy.
When you become a manager, we don't hire outside managers. When you become a manager at In-N-Out, you've started at level 1 and you worked your way up
love
through
that.
every station of the business so that
The
you're.
manager is actually doing traffic control at one point.
They know, and we have cameras and everything. We're well aware of what our queue is doing and we know how to manage the queue on site and make sure that it's orderly. It's important to us, again, as members of the community, as well as to our customers and for our associates to do that. We're very experienced, and I think we're the best in the business at handling our site
to be.
queuing.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure everybody else has too, but since I had teenage boys and now I have adult children that still love In-N-Out, we've been through all the changes with the parking over and the crowds over there, and every change works better and better. Yeah.
Yeah, I really think, I respect the concerns, and I really think we've handled it with this presentation and our site layout, and we have a lot of space to work with, and we will make it work. So I hope you're as comfortable as I am, but I know there's a little bit of trust you have to place with us, but this is a very large site. The queuing is extensive, the parking is extensive. 2 acres of property is a lot for a drive-through. Most of our sites are not nearly 2 acres size, so we're in a good advantage.
I think your American Fork, when you bought the lot next to you, it became close to 2 acres, so it's proven.
Yeah.
Just don't add dirty sodas. You'll be fine.
And so really, so then to come back, I really appreciate your time. Again, kind of our choice here tonight, just to be clear with your direction, I found some support on some of the elements. I have a decision to make whether really it's, again, we comply with code. That would be with respect to the 35% windows and the other thing. We either comply with code, but if we have some elements such as foregoing the windows, which I was getting some head shakes here, I just want to be clear on what we're doing. So if I choose to come back in an amendment, and we have the liberty to add those design elements in that amendment request, again, I don't want to come down a path thinking I'm going to forego windows or other things in that amendment request and then be denied. I'd like to have have a clear
think you have
understanding of
3
where you
people
stand.
wanting
I'm nervous about giving up the windows, to be honest.
I'm not.
I am a little nervous about it, just because I feel like,
What do you mean
So
by?
I'm okay with the palm trees on the awnings. I'm okay with the 3-foot awning over
Awning
the 4
depth,
foot. The landscape we handled. I would prefer to not give up the windows because we did across the street.
that part makes me, that's the only part I'm having a hard time with.
So I'm against the palm trees because we didn't allow the one raising canes, and so it's precedence. But again, I'm 1 of 5.
I said that wrong. I agree with you on the palm trees.
Yes.
I apologize.
Said you were for
Solid
that.
Yeah,
red
no, I
awning.
said that wrong. I'm okay with the smaller awnings,
Smaller awning,
no palm trees.
no palm trees.
Landscape we did.
Lighting, I think we've solved that.
Lighting we've solved, and I'd rather have windows because we've made other people do it.
Yeah. So I personally am okay with you coming with a different design, but I think you're going to have a windows requirement.
Yeah.
But I would love to see both. I don't know if that, but
But if you come in January, it's going to look like a different group here. I apologize for that. But
We'll be ahead of
I
that.
was going to say, I hope it's
So
before.
in other words, he's
before
saying,
January,
be
July.
here next month.
We want to move quickly.
then be here next month.
I'll do what I can, for sure.
What would Councilmember Carn say? Halloween, that'd be awesome.
Open.
Open.
That's fast.
Labor Day, yeah.
There we go. Absolutely.
Perfect.
That's great. I super appreciate your time. It's been really helpful in your guidance, and I
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
service to the community.
Thank
We're looking
you.
forward to coming here.
Great, thank
You'll
you.
love it here. You will.
Thanks.
You're going to make
Love
a lot of money.
Okay. There any other, Mark, no close? Okay.
Can I just say one thing on record?
No.
Has anybody driven up 2100 lately? coming from 2100,
Going west
going west.
towards Redwood Road?
This is just my observation. There's a big warehouse up there now that they just put up. It's huge. Compared to the other warehouses, it's like 3 times the size, those other ones.
So take a look.
It's a 2100.
Yeah, and the big one, you drive up on it. And I know I'm being, this sounds really weird, but I want to put a sign up there that says, "This is not Saratoga." But I know,
We're still in Lehigh.
I know,
They're
I
still-
know.
yeah.
In Parks and Rec, they had, welcome to the neighboring city, good luck with that. Perhaps that's.
Because everybody,
Mayor,
I was just putting it.
I just wanted to circle back, Mayor. I don't know, Councilmember McComber.
Talk offline.
Oh, no, I was going to say, did you get to address the items from when you were
Oh, yeah, you
on
wanted to say
Zoom?
something
I don't
else.
know that you ever
I'll
circled
just
back
talk
on.
to you offline.
Okay, thank you.
I even made a note, and then we got so excited to get to in and out.
No, it's fine.
Get in and out of here. Okay, I will adjourn the meeting.
That's the work session, and then you have.
Work session.